大家好，太阳出来了，今天是一个好日子，因为什么呢？因为今天我们未来趋势跟 Coin Bureau 我们就会在我们的频道 interview Mr. Labs 其中的一个创办人叫 Cheng。 如果你不懂的话， Mr. Labs 以前就是整班人的整个团队，他们在 Facebook 里面做一个 project 叫 Libra， 这个是 Facebook 以前的区块链，然后 Facebook scrap 的那个 project， 然后他们自己出来做一个区块链叫 SUI， 然后SUI现在有很多不同的发展，又有 BTCFi， OK， 这个东西我觉得2025年会很精彩 BTCFi， 所以要注意一下。还有一个就是叫 Walrus Protocol， OK，所以我现在就是要上我的酒店，我们就要开始我们的 interview 了。所以记得看之前帮我们一个 like、subscribe， 然后turn on notification bell。我要赶去那个 interview 了，来。
So Evan, would you mind sharing with us some of the updates on SUI and the latest development in SUI's ecosystem?
There's so much going on. SUI, I think the latest you saw, Fintech Wallet officially supported SUI as a few days ago. But that's just one of the many kind of a new product that has come to the SUI ecosystem. Despite the market volatility, we're still gaining strength. All the DeFi growth, utility, different verticals all growing. You're going to see across the board just a lot of energy, a lot of growth in ecosystem products. Now the developers have had time to build for SUI that's coming. We have been pretty stable. Everything's working really well despite the market volatility. It just continued chugging along, doing really well, continue to track liquidity from others. A couple of things that's probably worth pointing out. You're going to see a lot more about Bitcoin or BTCFi that's coming on SUI. If we want to say any kind of layer 1 or layer 2, it's the foundation or backbone of a new financial system. Well, the first thing you need to do is sort of give sort of a crypto native product like Bitcoin, a platform to get additional utility, additional yields for Bitcoin holders, using them as collateral, lending, borrowing, trading. There's going to be lots and lots of different Bitcoin derivative products. So if once we show that's possible for Bitcoin, we easy to imagine this can be the same kind of service that you provide for other kind of assets. So I'll say SUI is growing well, lots of attention, lots of key kind of industry products are integrating with SUI, lots of native products are coming on SUI. BTCFi is a big thing. You're going to see a lot of updating on gaming ecosystem in this month and next month as well. Lots of new products are finally launching. We're really excited about the growth of SUI.
Because when we talked to Evan, he actually shared with us Walrus Protocol, which was something that is very interesting. Evan, maybe for the people that are not very familiar with how SUI works or potentially have not heard about Walrus yet, could you maybe talk a little bit about what Walrus is and why are you so motivated to develop Walrus?
About why we're developing another protocol, developing Walrus. You're probably seeing a lot of the projects that just kind of build one protocol, a layer 1, layer 2, or whatever specialized protocol and just kind of focus on that. We imagine Mission Lab to be sort of building the new tech stack for next generation of products and services, right? We are in a world where, kind of product builder have a lot of complexity to deal with, a lot of liability, right? Anytime you're dealing with consumer information, the assets, the data, there's a lot of burden on the developers, right? We imagine a world more and more that responsibility will be moved over to delegated to a decentralized infrastructure, right? Blockchain, we call it coordination layer, is sort of a trusted medium for parties to exchange data, information to exchange asset. What's missing? Well, you keep on seeing a lot of centralized solution being plugged in supposedly this decentralized world, right? A lot of time we use off-chain resources and you take a look at them, they're very, very centralized. L2 is highly centralized. In fact, I wrote a lot about this kind of a couple of weeks ago. You should see the ping post at my Twitter. Once you take a step down centralized solution, that end up becoming sort of take hold, right? We've seen this over and over again. Now let's talk about why we're building Walrus and other protocols. Well, it's filling out that stack for decentralized applications. Right now, all the front ends, all the product for even DeFi protocols are probably hosted on centralized hosting solutions. That's not ideal. A lot of even for archiving of blockchain data using centralized solutions, a lot of these sort of centralization factors are there, which presents a lot of issues, right? I'm going to talk about other issues, other areas as well. But why is centralized solution bad, right? Because you again go back to trusting centralized entity and they become gatekeeper, and that's generally just a problem. So protocol like Walrus replace a lot of these kind of limitations. It's a decentralized storage, right? And you can use it for hosting, which is fundamentally different for a lot of other existing protocol out there. You're probably familiar with them. They usually are extremely expensive to use, not just because the replication factor, because the sort of like the minimum size that you get, kind of built for is too big for something like you want to use. And generally they're very, very slow, very much not something you can trust for mission critical use cases. Filecoin and all that are good enough for some base use cases, archival or like small image, like static data for NFTs, but it's not really a general storage solution. So Walrus fix all that, right? And how we fix that is one, using SUI for a lot of heavy duty kind of tracking where your data is being kept, right? We talk about blobs. And by the way, that's great for SUI as well, because they're creating a lot of object on SUI, and that basically take the storage funds basically cause deflationary kind of pressure on SUI. But the coordination part, right? We're using SUI to handle a lot of that. We have a new encoding scheme that's far more efficient than anything else. We call 3D encoding, and it's really, really fast. That allow you to build layers on top, right? Walrus side is our own example of hosting on Walrus, and we have partners building CDNs and other kind of solutions. You can imagine seeing streaming video being possible on this. And decentralized storage is very, very critical. Perhaps people don't understand this, right? A lot of the general problem with cybersecurity is you don't trust what you read back. Again, this is like we're in a trust deficit world where you always question about everything you read, every links you click. So decentralized storage solutions solve a lot of these kind of cybersecurity problems. We imagine it's being used for building kind of, for example, ransomware recovery kind of solutions. A lot of solutions only possible because Walrus doesn't have any kind of read and write performance constraints. It's cheap. It's scalable. In fact, more nodes means increased performance, better performance, in addition to higher scalability, and it's programmable. That's very, very important. Every infrastructure you have to think in terms of programmability, because we're in a world where everything is being automated, right? People talk about AI, talk about agents all the time. Well, agents not going to wait around for human to make decision for them. Everything has to be programmed. So all these properties, by the way, it's provable, right? It's like availability proofs and that sort of thing are native on Walrus. So all that, we think we turn sort of dumb storage on its head, become grammable smart storage, and it becomes a platform that can solve a lot of different problems, and we can see a lot of new exciting applications being built on top of Walrus and SUI.
I'm really excited with what Mr. Labs is doing to build this new stack to move responsibilities to decentralized solution. If you can explain to someone who is like non-tech savvy, can you share how does Walrus use SUI and what is the connection between Walrus and SUI?
Basically speaking, when you store something, you don't want to just replicate it over lots of different, many different servers, right? And that replication is too expensive price to pay for having kind of this resiliency, right? So Walrus provide resiliency with this unique 3D coding scheme, and the blobs are stored on different parts. So even you're losing certain parts, certain servers go down, certain nodes go down, you can still recover everything. So that balance of redundancy, the ability to recover loss is critical. So basically you're using SUI to do the coordination. It's like figuring out how to reconstruct the content, the data you store on Walrus. That's a kind of a high level sort of mental model. It's using SUI to spread things out and to be able to recover them.
I see. So obviously there are also other decentralized storage and data availability solutions. We talk about IFPS, we have Filecoin last year, right? What's the main difference between Walrus compared to these solutions that are out there right now?
There's a ton, right? In fact, I think people are starting to dive in deeper and talk about kind of just like evaluating head to head why Walrus is just so much better than everything else, right? So for example, Filecoin's overhead, full replication and proof of replication is 25 times overhead. Walrus is 3 to 5 times. So big delta in terms of the overhead, which has significant cost implications and also performance implications. Encoding speed, decoding speed is also significantly higher. It's like 4x compared to Filecoin. Efficiency, the cost, everything is just a lot better. And it's fully programmable, right? Because you represent a chunk, a blob of storage words as an object on SUI. Then you're thinking about wrapping, that becomes a valuable asset you can use for a number of reasons. So there's a lot of exciting things like that. And comparing to other solutions like ARWeave, you're going to see the same thing. Not to mention even the feature you don't have, right? None of these are really trustworthy. You store something in Filecoin, you don't know when you can read them back, what the read solution, kind of experience is going to be like. Do you have proofs that your data are there, right? Availability, right? That's why you have to have sort of availability layers on top of the storage. All that sort of thing is just kind of building in Walrus. So it's a brand new thing, right? You don't have to build your own blockchain. It's a very, very, very high performance blockchain that do a lot of heavy duty work behind the scenes. So that makes everything possible.
What is a programmable storage? If you were to put it in a simple way, what does it mean by programmable storage?
When you think about Dropbox type of solution, usually that you can say, I store something in Dropbox and maybe I will share with somebody else. And you have to kind of go in and say, okay, you can decide these people, I invite these folks over to view this content, and if you want to do something a little bit more complex, and you probably have to, kind of mess with different permissions. Certain people have viewing privilege, certain other folks can have editing or commenting at a data, a file level. Imagine doing that at a much more finer granularity. This data and only this part, this document, only this part can be edited by somebody else. And if things changes, you want to be able to dynamically change things, responding to activities, other signals. And you start thinking about, if this is purely a manual process, it's not going to work. Imagine using anything that's more automated, using AI agents, and you respond to things like this. Composing data together. These things have to be written in a program. You have to have a program that respond to the things, automatically updating them. That's what it's about. We're building all this building block on top of Words to make these things really, really simple. Now, all of a sudden, people can build next generation file sharing or document sharing or streaming media type of service. You can imagine how powerful this is for creative content sharing, and how you can now imagine these things being assets as wrapped in a SUI object, becomes a tokenized asset. Your imagination can go from there. We're looking forward to see what developer can build with this. Programmability is essential because automation, one, also second, trust. You do really don't want human give permission to someone else to make decision for you, because we've seen time and time again, human, because the business needs incentive and misalignment, can change the policy without your approval, and all of a sudden you're in a bad position. Your data is being monetized by someone else, you don't get a benefit from it, right? This is all about giving the control of the content creator and automating everything as much as possible, so you can keep up with everything and you benefit from automation.
I'm thinking, what are the key use cases for Walrus? Because there are a lot of people out there, they understand Google Drive, they understand Dropbox, and what type of projects or what type of teams would benefit most from using Walrus?
You want to provide developer a new business model. Right now, the prevalent business model Web 2 is somewhat like gatekeeping. You handle customer data, you handle customer content, you help them with some kind of sequence, logging, right? When you do logging, you're essentially trusting an entity with your secret. And this entity utilizing the network effect, right? Lots of content for distribution, for matching buyer and seller. In a way, they take a cut and then they use the information to extract value, to make money. And everybody knows nobody likes this model. Sometimes the developer don't like this model too, right? Because now all of a sudden they have all these privacy regulations, other data retention, content moderation, a lot of laws, a lot of requirement that's gonna force upon them. What does this do, right? It makes it bigger. If you already have the network fact, you're a big company, you can afford all these, dealing with all this. It is very hard for an upstart kind of company to come in and sort of challenge incumbents. We're essentially providing them with a new business model. The new business model is sort of delegate a lot of these responsibility to decentralized infrastructure, where it's run by not a single entity. So you have distributed trust, right? So that do away with a lot of requirements, overheads. And then you can change the business model to maybe not monetizing from the content your customers' data. It's more of a sharing, sort of incentive aligned kind of business model. And we've seen that play out. We literally just wanted to bring this available to a even more kind of industry, more verticals, not just trading, but beyond. Content distribution as an example, many other example as well. But it's fundamentally different business model we believe is allowing smaller player upstart to be able to challenge the incumbents as a result.
所以简单来讲，这个去中心化的存储 Walrus Protocol 跟普通的 Google Drive 有什么最大的分别呢？你要了解一个东西，就是 Walrus Protocol 是一个去中心化的一个存储的意思，就是说不是一个中心的一个公司或者一个中心的一个项目 hold 着你的 files， 这个 files 全部已经分散去中心化了。所以如果有 ransomware， 好像 Evan 讲，如果有一个人他拿掉你的 website， 他跟你讲，如果你要回你的这个 website， 你要给我钱。如果我们用 Walrus Protocol 就没有这样的问题，因为它是去中心化的，它的 files 已经分散去互联网上面了。当然还有一个最大的好处就是，如果你是 Web3 的公司，区块链上面的公司， Walrus Protocol 就是最适合你们的这个 decentralized 的这个世界，所以这个东西你们可以去考虑一下，去了解一下。所以如果你们是在 gaming 公司、区块链公司，或者你们是总之是在 Web3 里面的 Walrus Protocol 不是只是比更加便宜，因为你要了解，好像 Google Drive、Dropbox 上面有 charge 你 subscription，Walrus Protocol 有可能会更加便宜。
Evan, at the beginning of this interview, you shared that SUI do have plans with BTCFi. Do you mind sharing a bit more about what are the plans with BTCFi?
We're working hard. So ultimately, what BTCFi is, you have asset that's sitting elsewhere. Bitcoins are on the Bitcoin network, and people self-custody them or custody them with cross-file custodian or the centralized custodian. So, but BTC holder don't have a safe and secure way to utilize the BTC. You can lend with centralized entity, but that's not for everybody. You want to hold on to your BTC and still generate yields often, and we want to provide that. We want people to feel comfortable, right? They are still in charge, in control of the BTC, and through other services, they can stake the BTC, which they control themselves. You can have liquid staking token, then all of a sudden these tokens have utility. On SUI, there's going to be a lot of different DeFi primitives they can use with, right? All of a sudden, if you have assets that's valuable, people want to borrow them, right? Why would they borrow them? Why would they want to borrow them? There are other kind of BTC derivatives out there. You're probably aware, like Coinbase have their CBBTC, BUBTC. There's other kinds of L2 type of solution for BTC that allow them to sort of create these derivative products. Once you have derivative product, there's an arbitraging opportunity, and all that will happen on SUI. So once we prove this model works, you can easily see this model works well with a lot of other tokenized assets. One of the biggest challenges we're seeing with RWA is they are not really utility asset. They may have a natural yield associated with them, treasury and all that you bring that on chain, which is one step forward. But you want to use them in DeFi, you want to use them to generate additional yields, or you want to bring on other asset that don't have native yields, such as gold and commodity type of asset. You can tokenize them, but you still have to make them useful. They make these assets to have utility for them to contribute to the underlying economy. So this is essentially a playbook that can be replicated for a lot of the other assets. And that's important for CFI, sort of this convergence of finance and tokenized asset. We're taking step forward. There are many, many steps ahead. Many different kind of product can be built. This is only the first step, right? With the power of SUI, you can programmably produce and create other kinds of structure, kind of financial products. That's really is not possible before. You can increase the velocity of money asset, reducing a lot of settlement. Again, it's all about efficiency, removing a lot of intermediate steps. Human intermediary can make things a lot faster, move a lot faster. And velocity and money is a real thing, right? If you're a business, your money gets deposited, you can use right away. Then your capital requirement, you don't have to borrow as much, right? You reduce your capital requirement. So that is going to have a positive effect on the world economy.
Well, Evan, I'm so excited for SUI's development in 2025. I see that in terms of the roadmap, SUI has a lot of exciting things going on. you have SUI Gaming Summit coming soon, and then we have the SUI base camp in Dubai. That's going to be exciting with you guys trying to incubate as many developers as possible. We're seeing a lot of new development in the ecosystem here at Future Trends and here at the Coin Bureau. We are very, very excited with the development of SUI. Evan, I would like to thank you for taking time out of the day. I know it's a busy time.
Of course.
There's so many things going on in SUI ecosystem. I'm so excited as well. Thank you so much for sharing your time today and sharing some really good information with us. For those of you who are watching this, please let us know what did you learn out of this interview. Put it in the comment below.
OK， 现在你已经听了这个 interview， 告诉我在 comment 下面，你对SUI乐观吗？你觉得SUI有成长空间吗？你会投进SUI，还是你会投进它的竞争者 Aptos APT？ 打在 comment 下面告诉我，给我知道。